From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? We're back for another conversation amongst us, and I look forward to speaking with you about it.
Oh, I'm doing great, Steve. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. If you didn't catch our last episode, 245, we talked about our end of year reflection and New Year outlook. So check that out. That was a good episode and a lot to digest there, and probably a lot of things to talk about in the future. So look forward to continuing that conversation and hearing from our audience about it. For today, we're going to talk a little bit about what is the makeup and the requirements and the role of a manager of programmers, or for that part that could extend to even some other AV professionals. But um, managers are definitely uh, not necessarily what you graduate to be when you are a technical professional. Not everybody uh, has that because it's a different skill set. Not everybody needs to move in that direction, but some might want to. But it is definitely a shift. So we're going to explore a little bit about what does that makeup look like, because there's still a technical component of it when you're working with people that are programmers or technicians or engineers or so forth. So, James, I know that this is what you live day to day and you've been exposed to, but why don't you kick us off with some of your insight?
This is still something I'm learning. Um, I keep going back to the phrase that you know, as you become a manager, you are no longer the person who does the job. You are now the person who manages the people who do the job. And it's getting out of that mindset. There is many times like, yeah, one of us could go in the room and program it or fix an issue and may take, 30 seconds, a minute, because we have the experience, we have the years behind us. Where our team, it might take them, 5 minutes, an hour as they are building their skill sets. And that can become frustrating if you don't understand that you have to teach your employees and you have to work with them. You may not have to be no programming, but you have to be able to coach them into the so that they can be the best they can be. And like I said, this is something I'm still learning. I can speak it out and then put it in practice is a whole nother thing. Trust me. There's many times that like I have gone and down the rabbit hole of fixing, and then I get done and I'm like, I really shouldn't have done that. My team should have done that. I should have done this with them and all that stuff. So I would say still learning it, but you got to understand you're moving away from doing the job to working, managing people who do the job.
I think that's really well put, and there's two sides to the coin too. There's the needing to be able to resist doing it, like you said, and I think you and I have talked about. There's a book called The Coaching Habits, and there's also a follow-up book to that too. Um, and what it talks about is, don't give the answers, ask the questions, and work with your team to develop that muscle to figure things out. And that could be tricky. And there's a lot of there's a lot that goes into being a manager, from everything from doing the people part, which is in itself a challenge and an art form, but there's also being able to think ahead and have and understand the logistics and scheduling and organization and processes and so forth. But it's important to be able to still be relatable to your team, and one thing that I think is tricky is that you want to, you may need to kind of go bob and weave a little, if you will. Sometimes you have to do more of the management side, but then there's also times where you don't want to get too far away from the technical side, and you may have to get your head back into that to be able to look and see how do we do things the way, why do we do things the way we do, uh, and that'll help to understand where the opportunities may lie, or it may also come down to being able to grasp the ways things are done so that you they can be transferable from person to person, so that when somebody leaves, they don't necessarily leave all of that tribal knowledge with them, take all the tribal knowledge with them. So just some of my thoughts there, but it's a delicate mix and a tricky situation, and I'm also trying to navigate through that myself as we build infrastructure.
So the interesting thing is I've learned I recently, probably not so much recently, about 6 months or so ago, I went to a leadership conference. Target for higher ed leaders, but a leadership conference. And I remember sitting at a round table. And at that round table, there were CIOs, CTOs, there was deans, there were like high level executives. And then you have me, assistant director of AV services. And I remember sitting there and I was like, hey, I'm encountering this issue with my team. This is a problem I'm trying to overcome. And there was a CIO sitting next to me and go, I have the same problem. I'm like, but you're a CIO. Like, don't you have the answer to this? And they don't. Managers don't have the answers to this.
Yeah, that doesn't go away, and the beauty of it is that it's relatable too. So there are definitely ways that you can get help, and you can find people that you can learn from. That to me that's a good thing. When your problems are unique, that's when I think it's we've found that we've gotten ourselves too off course. Um,
Yes, definitely.
it, I think, going back to what you said before, it's really hard to avoid doing it for somebody, but there's also that um, the balance of, hey, we got to get this job done, and you also don't want somebody to struggle, and you also want to make sure that the people on your team have the right toolkit to be able to do what they have to do. And part of that too is people skills. Like you can't exist in this world without having people skills and be able to communicate and be able to ask for help and know when it's time to shift gears, and also have the bigger picture in mind. So that's one thing that is certainly a manager's responsibility, but needs to be um, needs to be passed along to their team.
Yes, it does. And it's people skill like I know I've said this on this episode, not this episode, but this podcast. In fact, Dan Ferrucci was our good friend Dan Ferrucci was a guest. I remember saying that, tech is easy, people are hard. And yeah, it is true. Tech is easy. We can teach the tech. People are hard. And that because everyone has their own experience. And we come from, and we also got to learn that we got to not learn, but we got to understand that we have built the muscle memory, the habits of just doing what we do. So we don't even realize what we're doing. And then the new employees or new entry folks, they don't have that understanding. Why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it that way? And you want to sit there and be like, well, why don't you understand this? But it's more of like they don't have that past experience you have. They haven't built that knowledge. They haven't struggled. Think about driving a car. How many of us, when we sit in our car to drive to work, think about driving? Probably not many.
Mm.
But when you first started driving, you had to do a lot of thinking about that. Oh, am I checking my mirrors? What's around me? Like now it's become second nature.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point there. I want to take a moment to also think of things from the other side. Is there are managers who have been doing it for a while and maybe have lost touch with what it is that their team members do, how they do it, and they're a little too hands off. So that's another potential pitfall to make sure you don't get too far away from I mean, there's certainly a reward in saying that my team can do it and I don't have to be involved, but there may be some blind spots that get created because of that.
I agree. And don't what I want, at least in my thinking here, that is a good spot to be in if you set up the right culture and the right environment. And what I mean by that is, as a manager, you don't have to be the smartest people. You hire the smart people to do the job. And you need to trust them to do the job. You don't hire smart people and then tell them how to do their job. Yes, you have to guide them. You have to make sure the work's getting done efficiently, all that stuff. As a manager, if you don't understand what's going on with the day-to-day operation, the environment should allow that your team is telling you. You trust them, and they're up keeping you like it's the word managing up. They are able to manage up, saying, "Hey, we are experiencing this roadblock. We are experiencing this issue," and you can understand what they're talking about. Going back to your earlier comment, is communication. We are communicators. So having that being, they can come to you saying, "Hey, here's our roadblock. This is where we're struggling," and you can understand and trust them. Let them do their jobs, and then you can handle that. That is what needs to be done. I kind of got this from the book I read a while ago called "Turn the Ship Around." It was a naval admiral who took one of the worst performing nuclear submarines in the Navy to one of the best performing nuclear subs in the Navy. And why he kind of talked about why it really kind of struck with me was he, when he was working on getting his command, he was told he was going to take over this one submarine. So he studied that submarine. He knew that submarine inside and out. 2 weeks before deployment, he got pulled and said, "You're now taking over this submarine," a completely different thing. Everything was completely different. So he didn't know. So he asked the questions. He got from his team. He had to learn from his team that were there, because he didn't go in, "I know it all." He came in not knowing and had to learn.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've learned in this past year from a business coach that we work with is the importance of asking questions, and that's one of the things that are in the books that we mentioned earlier today too. The uh, Asking questions and not necessarily coming to conclusions or providing answers is really critical. So, and I could see where in that situation, that's you have to be able to rely on and trust the people that you're overseeing. Well, before we wrap up, are there any tips that you could offer, or any pitfalls that we haven't covered yet that would be helpful for people that are either looking at a management role or trying to put somebody in a management role?
Not everyone's made to be a manager. Not every Yeah, so not everyone's made to be a manager. And That's fine. You can't just take your best tech and make them a manager. As folks like to say, is a leader, you don't need a title. So not all leaders need to be managers, and not all managers are leaders. So you can still be like an entry level tech or even a senior level tech and be a leader, managing up and all that stuff without the title, the management title. And some people just do that. They want the title and they want the pay, and but they don't understand the work that required. It's a completely different skill set. And unlike tech, like where we go and oh, I'm going to write a piece of code, I'm going to hit this button, it either works or it doesn't work. So you get instant feedback, especially as programmers. We love instant feedback. In management, you're not going to get instant feedback. It may be 3 months, it may be 6 months, it may be a year before you realize something that you put in place is either working or not working.
It's such good stuff. I don't know that I can add a lot more to that other than to understand that it's a delicate balance because, like you said, it's a different role managing, and although you want to keep your hands on in the technical side to some degree, you have to understand where that balance is right for the role and the needs of your organization and in my opinion, the a good manager is somebody who focuses on on getting their team to be more effective and being able to create efficiencies and increase productivity rather than them being the primary contributor. So
Good point.
let's wrap this one up there, but hopefully our audience has gotten some good insight from it. It is something that's been coming up more often, and I think that as members of our community and the industry advance in different ways, it's important to know what somebody in a management role looks like, both from the person in the role or considering the role or hiring for the role, as well as the person reporting to that manager. So, James, how can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more about what you're doing and continue this conversation?
Before I go to that, there's one other thing that just dawned on me. I want to give word of advice to anyone who wants to be a manager and is in a management position, and they're like I mentioned earlier, that 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, the non-instant feedback. But also another thing to understand is I know this analogy comes from like teaching. I use it for coaching with soccer. Um, is the popcorn analogy. Is popcorn, you look at popcorn, you apply heat to the kernels and they pop. They don't all pop at the same time. Even though the heat is the same, you apply the same heat, you have some who pop earlier, some who pop late, and some who never pop at all. It doesn't mean that the heat was wrong. It's just maybe not the right environment for them. So do keep that in mind. And again, you're going to have some outstanding, you're going to have middle, and then some people, it's just, you're not the right fit.
Great point. That's one I haven't heard, and I'm going to keep that one in mind. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And get a hold of me is Google me. You'll find me. I'm in that program community. I'm out there.
Fantastic. And definitely let us know what you think and provide us some insight. And we're going to be doing more posting on the Ask the Programmer LinkedIn group. So that's a great place for us to all come together. For me, you could reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social platforms. LinkedIn is the one that I spend the most time on. I'm happy to connect and happy to talk to anyone out there. Uh, my company Control Concepts is a supporter of this podcast, and what we do is help programmers get their projects done more efficiently and effectively by providing API integrations with products as well as providing programming. Uh, building blocks that will help add functionality and features to your systems. You can find more about that at controlconcepts.net. We hope that you're either listening or watching this podcast, but whichever one you're doing, you could check us out on the other side. We are on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast player. So check us out, leave a rating, review, and we'd really like to hear from you. And we're also looking for more people who want to come on the podcast or provide topic ideas. So don't be afraid to reach out. We're very approachable in that regard. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.